Welcome to Big Blend Radio, where we celebrate variety and how it adds spice to quality of life. Everybody, it is happy hour. It's the last Big Blend Radio happy hour of 2024. And of course, we will be back next year with happy hours, and probably we may have a few more than normal. You know, this show airs every month, and today this show's a little different. We are raising a glass to Arizona, the state of Arizona, as one of our 2025 top picks of a must-do travel destinations. So you're going to see this in an upcoming digital magazine through our Big Blend magazines. But also we have a wonderful group of women joining us on the show. And we're going to double this up and also feature this on our Women Making History show. That show is all about women making history, celebrating women of the past, the present, and the future. So understand that this show is going to talk about women of Arizona. You know what? Think about the women that settled here, the women that have lived here, you know, millions of years ago. Well, maybe not millions, but a long, long time ago. So there's a lot of history here, and I'm excited to introduce everybody back on the show. Everyone has been on the show on Big Blend Radio before. Of course, Nancy, my mom and cohort that I travel across the country with. Nancy, you doing good?
Yeah, I'm good.
It's good to be back in Arizona, right? We've been in Tucson.
I know, it's like our home.
It is.
You know?
Well, it is. Our storage unit is here as we travel full time. For those who are new to the show, Nancy and I travel full time across the country, documenting parks and public lands, pet sitting. And so you may hear a few barks here and there in between. But right now we're in Phoenix, and we're actually very close to Scottsdale, I believe. But it's really cool to be back in the desert. And I'm going to bring everybody on the show. So we've got Eva Eldridge. Eva has been on our show for a long time. She's a travel writer, an editor, and she knows about book publishing. And we just saw Eva and did a lot of cooking and wine pairing with her. So anyway, go to evaeldridge.com. Welcome back, Eva. How are you?
Doing good today.
You know, the house must be quiet without us there, right? It's nice and calm and peaceful.
Sorta. Remember, we have Poppy.
Poppy the puppy. We love Poppy. We miss Poppy.
Definitely. It's definitely more organized. I finally got through the mountains of laundry. They had to endure my mountains of laundry.
This is most important. This is a thing. So we hung out at Eva's and took care of her dog Poppy while she traveled with her husband Jeff. And then she came home to a mile-long table of produce, wine, and books. And we had to do something with it. And that was fun. We had a good time. You made a pineapple upside-down cake with pink pineapple from Melissa's Produce. Give them a shout out. And we paired that. It was a fresh pineapple, like a fresh cake, fresh pineapple, which is a difference, right, Eva, than doing the typical upside-down cake.
I really don't think you're using fresh pineapple as opposed to canned pineapple, but I think pretty much the stuff was the same. But that recipe, the cake itself was delicious. Mm-hmm. And you didn't have those silly cherries in it. It was just the pink pineapple. Oh my God. It was one of the best pineapple upside down cakes I've ever had. So yay.
I know. And none of us have really had it or made it in like decades. And we did it and we paired it with LDV Winery. Talk about Arizona. We paired it. Oh my gosh. I was going to pair it with the Viognier that we're going to talk about from LDV Winery, but we paired it with the 2023 Rosé of Grenache. Now the colors matched, and I kind of went, we got to do this together because of the colors. But I know Peggy Fiandaca is on our show every first Wednesday with her Wine Time with Peggy podcast. And her and her husband, Kurt, own and run LDV Winery. The winery is based out of the Chiricahua region of southeast Arizona. So a little further south of Wilcox, close to Tucson. And then their tasting room is in Scottsdale. So you can go to ldvwinery.com to learn everything about it. But we were going to do the Viognier because she did a recipe on our site for pineapple and ice cream. And I thought, oh, yes. But then we looked at the Grenache and said it matched in color. And I started doing all this research and thinking, we can do it. And we did, and it's good. And now we have the Viognier on the show today for happy hour, but welcome back, Peggy. Can we just say the Grenache worked? The Rosé of Grenache worked.
Fantastic. I wish I had an opportunity to taste that pineapple upside down cake. It reminds me of my mom because who's passed, and she used to always make pineapple upside down cake, and that was one of her favorites. And yeah, I think the 100% Grenache, Rosé of Grenache, would be stunning with that. So
Yeah,
thank you.
The pineapple was sweet, but not too sweet.
Mhm.
And the cake was sweeter, especially the topping. So when it came to the pairing part, it went with the pineapple a little bit more than the cake side of it, but then it was this
Sure.
perfect balance. And it was like
Yeah.
and oh my gosh, can we just say that was really good wine? Are we allowed to say that?
Well, thank you. Well, yeah, I think that's a pretty special rosé, fuller bodied than most rosés, but a great food pairing rosé.
It was good. And
Awesome.
yeah. And now Nancy and I have the Viognier, and I'm going to bring our other guests on. We can talk about the Viognier in a second, but this is like our baby because we got to taste it early. It's not ours, but like we feel a claim to ownership because we got an early tasting. But it is really good. Can I just say it's really, really good? Everybody go get
Really
it.
good.
It's really
I love
good.
it.
Everybody go get it. Go get it. Go to
Go get it.
ldwinery.com. And I do want to tell everybody that Eva really knows how to cook and bake. I didn't know her baking skills as much until the upside down cake. And that's when I'm like, you go out of the kitchen, you can come chop and you can do this kind of stuff, but don't mess around with the cake science going on. Cause like she had like science going on and she pulled it off. Even the flipping of the upside down cake. So I don't think you were drinking as much wine as Nancy and I don't think you trusted us to do the flipping,
He
did
does.
you? You didn't. Eva didn't. Eva didn't trust us. All right. So we've got amazing guests joining us. Judy Carnia is a travel writer and a nature therapy guide. She's based in Scottsdale, Arizona. You can go to her website, judycarnia.com, and that's with a K, not carnitas, Carnia. Welcome, Judy. How are you? I had to say that. You're in
Thank
Arizona.
you. I'm
How are
a
you
little
doing?
chilly today. It's only about 60 degrees today, so it's too chilly for me.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
little wonky. I'm just saying. I walked the dogs
It's
just now
cold.
because
It
I'm like,
is.
I'm not doing the early morning walk. This is not normal.
No, it's
No.
cold this morning.
Yeah. A little cold is good though. It's good. Did you move to Scottsdale for sunshine coming from Chicago?
Yes.
Was that one of your primary moves?
I grew up in Chicago. I was actually living in Nebraska before I moved here, and yeah, I wanted warm and sun, so that's pretty much why I came.
Peggy,
Well,
how did
hey,
you get to
winter's
Arizona?
winter.
Yeah. I want to say, Peggy, Arizona, because weren't you from up in the Midwest area?
I am. I'm from the Chicago area, and I came out to Arizona to go to Arizona State University and never went home. So this has become my home. I don't think if I went to college back in Illinois, I probably would have never finished because of the cold and having to walk with a heavy jacket between classes and that type of thing. I just fell in love with the desert, fell in love with Arizona, fell in love with the heat, and this became home. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of
Fabulous.
people from Chicago here in Arizona.
Yeah.
One of them is
though-
Elaine Powers. Elaine Powers is on the show. She's an author, conservationist, actor, and singer, and she's based in Tucson. She's been on a number of our shows. You can go to ElaineAPowers.com. And she was on the last Happy Hour show talking about her hometown, which was a hometown happy hour, and that was Peoria, Illinois. So,
Correct.
Elaine, is
That's
this
right.
the sunshine again? We're on that hometown topic.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm from Central Illinois, and yes, I do enjoy the hot desert climate here in Tucson much better than Central Illinois.
Well, welcome back. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, Nancy, you and I we moved to Arizona after a press trip covering like Green Valley down to
Yes.
like Nogales area and Rio Rico and
We went,
Tubac
that
and all
sounds
that.
good.
And then we did a little bit in Tucson, and then we went, all right, we're moving. And we did. That was it.
Well,
Eva,
we've moved so many times. I think we've only missed one continent.
no, we've
Oh,
missed a few.
two.
No, a few. We got a lot more to do, but I wanted to ask Eva, you weren't born and raised in Arizona, right? Like what drew you here?
Oh no, I moved here in 1979. I was born in Alaska.
Oh, huh.
Yeah, there you go.
Know that.
That's
Wow.
a long distance, Eva. You
Yes.
did a good, yeah, she's
Huh.
been around. Eva's been around.
I belong here. This is where my heart is. So I belong
Mm.
here.
So I want to bring Dr. Ransdell back on the show. She's an author, musician, educator in Tucson. Man, she likes mariachi music. She likes to travel. She doesn't necessarily drink wine, but she writes about wine. Go to dr-ransdell.com. Welcome back, Dr. How are you?
I'm fine. I just had my last class of the semester today, so that's really good. But I have to add this. I too am from Illinois. Elaine's not the only one from Central Illinois. I'm from Springfield, and I'm laughing because, I went to University of Illinois as an undergraduate, and it was one day in March when I was marching among the many buildings, and it's a big campus like U of A is. I thought, wow, I've got on my winter coat, my gloves, my scarf, my boots, and I'm freezing. This is a stupid place to live. So then when I graduated, I actually went to Mexico because I had a major in Spanish. I want to work on my Spanish. But then when I was going to leave Mexico, friends told me, why don't you try Arizona? It's very Hispanic, Mexican style Hispanic, and it's very warm. And this has been a great place for me. So here I am since the 80s.
I love
Awesome.
it. I love it. I love this whole Midwest to the Southwest connection, right? So now we've also got Dr. Millicent Eidson back on the show. She is a professor and educator as well, an author and writer, but based in Vermont. So she's getting the snow. She's like, but she likes Arizona and writes about all kinds of microbial things going on in her mystery. She is part of the Tucson Sisters in Crime, just like Elaine and Dr. and Eva. They're all part of the Tucson Sisters in Crime. So if you meet them, run because they may bury you in the desert. I'm just kidding. But go to her website, which is Dr. Another one, drmayamaguire.com. And then you'll learn more about her mystery books. But when we talk about science, man, she could probably make wine too. So welcome back, Millie. How are you?
Thanks. Yeah. November is one of my favorite months in Tucson, so I wish I was with you there now. Here in Vermont, where I retired, it's a beautiful place, but this month is pretty miserable with temperatures in the 20s and 30s, and all our beautiful snow that we had last week is melting with rains that are flooding our rivers right now. So yeah, I wish November I would definitely like to be back in Tucson, which is where I grew up. I moved there when I was a child in 1960, and Tucson was wonderful in the 1960s. You'd have maybe 1 or 2 days a year when the temperature would get up to 100, and so now I'm not sure I could cope with the heat because we were back there visiting family in Tucson and Phoenix in October, and the heat was just too much because it was up to 99, and I wasn't used to it. So
yeah, it does take time. Nancy and I battled this being on the road full time, that we get to places, and I think we're not as young as we used to be.
Well, speak for yourself.
I said we, the temperatures are changing. You know all about this as climate science and things like that. Do you think temperatures are truly changing across the country right now?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And of course, one of the things I study are diseases that that we get from animals, because I'm a veterinarian and that's what I write about in my microbial mystery books. And so I put in the books, how the different diseases are being affected by climate change. And you definitely see it. Like the mosquitoes and the ticks are, have a broader range because they like the warmer temperature. So they're spreading to areas where they weren't before. So yeah, the heat, and irregular climate is definitely causing problems.
Well, I want to say that you're also connected with Judy Carnier, because Judy is a retired veterinarian for felines. She specialized in cats.
Great.
So yeah, this is cool. We got veterinarian science but going on the crazy part, like bird flu is back.
Right.
Like, they're saying, be careful about what you do with birds. Like Louisiana's got it right now. So I'm wondering about all these interesting things that are going to happen over the next few years that crop up. And I think, Peggy, at LDV Winery, you guys are really serious about how you take care of your property so that it's resilient, right? And let it be as, you work with nature as best as you can.
Absolutely. And of course, knock on wood, we haven't had some destroying insects or anything like that in our vineyard for ever, really. But we have had some insects over time that have appeared that no one knew what they were. And I would have to take photos and send them off to specialists to try to identify them. So that's happened a couple times in our vineyard. But other than that, luckily, it can destroy a vineyard very quickly, some insects.
Because you're a vegan vineyard, right? And we're going to talk about that on your January podcast. But can you tell people what that is real quick? What a vegan vineyard is?
So our vineyard, we don't even use manure in our vineyard to augment soils or to, because they will have residual on the grapes, and our wines are vegan. And so we don't use any animal product in our winemaking process. And because we only make wine from the grapes we grow, then we have to start in the vineyard with what we augment our soils with, so that it remains vegan.
I think that's why Nancy and I love your wines, because it just doesn't do any weird after effect.
Sure.
Yeah,
because we're allergic to fish and seafood, and sometimes that stuff gets in there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a fining agent that a lot of wineries use that are fish product or animal protein or egg product that a lot of people are allergic to, and we're not required by law to list those on the back of the bottle of what you used in the fining process of the winemaking. And we don't do that. So ours are very pure with very limited additives to our wine.
Well, can we make everyone
appreciate that?
We do.
Thank you.
We really do. And I have a lot of vegan friends, and people go like, what do you mean wine is from a grape? I'm like, no, it's different, man. It is. I want to tell you the Viognier, and just to make everyone jealous, it's happy hour. This Viognier is so smooth and so delicate. Like, it's delicate and yet strong. Like, this is a woman. This wine is a woman. Like, it's strong,
a sneak
delicate.
attack.
It is. It is subtle, but don't mess with her. I don't know. Does that make sense? I mean, I know.
Yes, it does.
Yes, she's
it does.
badass.
We don't, as you know, we don't make shy wines. We're not, because
it's smooth. It's so ultra smooth. I think, just sipping and going, this is one of, if not the smoothest wine.
White wines, white wines forever.
Especially for a white, that I've ever tasted.
Nancy and Lisa, you were at the vineyard or in the winery now almost 2 years ago, year and a half ago. And
Yeah,
you
year and a half.
thought, when you tasted that Viognier that was in barrel, you thought I was ready. Can we have it? Can we take it home with us?
Yeah.
And Kurt said, no, it's not quite ready yet. And I think it's because of our process. We don't release any wine before it's time. And
So good.
and I
Yeah,
think
this
that's
is
what you're getting that smooth finish on.
patience. That
Yep.
patience.
Oh,
And it's got a little.
okay, so be patient. Your call will be answered.
I remember, I believe, saying there was pear, and I still feel there's a
Yep.
little pear.
Yep. No, you're
Okay.
right.
Oh.
No, I think good. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Oh, it is
Cheers.
beautiful.
Awesome.
Everyone, cheers, cheers. We held
Yeah.
on to this.
Mhm.
We were good girls. Eva knows how much wine Nancy and I love to drink, and we were very good girls and held on to it. Right, Eva? We behaved,
Yeah,
but
but they got me to drink too, so.
Yes. We
DR,
did
we're
it.
gonna need
We did
to
it.
ransack you next time we go to Tucson and get you to drink wine because you write about wine, right? DR, are you there? She went away?
Well, I'm laughing because you're talking about how much you like wine, and I'm like, yeah, I'm really a terrible Italian in this sense because I've never liked wine, and then I go to wine country, so where my cousins live, and like almost everybody in that little village makes their own wine, and then they hand you their wine that they've made, and they're like, "Oh, isn't it good?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's so good." But anyway, I have a little trouble with that. So yeah, but. But
I don't know. We're
wine
gonna
is
have to
Okay.
change. We can change it. I don't know, but everybone's got their thing, right? But that's that.
right.
Peggy. I mean, you got the last name. I mean, that's a good Italian name, right? Like, it's in your blood to do this.
Absolutely, I know. And long history, even my grandfather on my mom's side, which is the Hogan side, he was a bootlegger in the back hills of Kentucky. He was a real famous bootlegger at that time. So I guess alcohol was part of my destiny with my Sicilian family on my paternal side and my bootlegging on my maternal side. So
I love it. And do you know how
I
many
want to know
female
more about the
bootleggers?
bootlegger.
Yeah.
There are so many women bootleggers that were across the
I
country.
love it.
I mean, okay, don't get me started on all kinds of, women don't mess with women who want to move stuff. They do. So it is happy hour, right? We're going to talk about food, drink, of course. It's happy hour. So, I want to start off and then we're going to talk about travel because it's going to be part of our 2025, 25 must-do visits in this country. So it's happy hour. So I want to go around and ask everybody, what do you want to eat and drink for happy hour since it's here and where? And if you could invite a woman to join you, alive or passed on, who would it be? Now, this woman can be from Arizona or have lived here, maybe been there for a month or two, but has a mark on Arizona, a connection. Or maybe you want to invite a woman to Arizona, Women Making History podcast here, introduce her to Arizona for a reason. So let's find out. So I'm going to start off with Eva. Okay, what is to eat and drink for happy hour and where?
Happy hour here in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Chips and really good salsa and really good guacamole. And one of the best guacamoles I've had is made at the table at El Charro Steak in Del Mar, which is downtown. They make, I don't know, your guacamole was good, Lisa, but theirs is, I don't know what they put in it. It was excellent. So I think that's a really good, easy, happy hour thing.
Now, are you going to have a margarita with that or what?
Oh, yeah. Maybe a prickly pear one.
Cool. And who are you taking to happy hour?
Anybody that wants to come.
Oh, come on. You got to pick a woman. It's a women's history. Or it could be anyone in the past, present, future of women.
Who would I bring, woman-wise? I'm trying to think of somebody that hasn't been brought up before. I can't answer that right off the bat, off the top of my head.
Oh,
I'll
well, have
I'll text
another
you
sip
as
of your, no, have another
yeah.
sip of your margarita and we'll come back. I'm going to
Okay.
go over to Judy. Judy, where are you taking us for happy hour and who are you inviting in as a woman to this happy hour?
Well, I would take you to Hula's Modern Tiki. Great little place right in Old Town, right amid all the shops and galleries. So it's nice
In
stop
Scottsdale?
place
Old
to
Town
stop.
Scottsdale?
Old Town Scottsdale. Yeah, sorry. To me, it's just Old Town. But yeah. And I would probably get some pot stickers. They make really good pot stickers. And order a Dark and Stormy, which is a dark rum with ginger beer.
Uh-oh, Nancy, you may be
Give you a
hanging out
nice
with you.
fancy tiki glass and everything, an umbrella with.
Uh-oh.
Gosling's dark rum and Barrett's ginger beer, specifically from Bermuda.
Wow. All right.
Well, I've had a few of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
this
Hello.
party is just getting started. No wonder Eva couldn't remember what woman she was to pick. She's drinking that rum. Oh my gosh, Nancy, we're behind, and I know Nancy loves her rum. So,
Oh, dude, I love rum. Ever since Africa, I'm totally into rum.
So, who are you inviting, Judy?
I would invite along our governor of the great state of Arizona, Katie Hobbs. I know a little bit about her, but not a ton, and it'd be interesting to learn more about her and also to find out what it's like being governor.
Yeah. The more women in power, right? Sorry, did I say the power word?
Yeah, we need it here.
Yes. Let's go over to DR, Renzel, everybody again. Tell us, what are you eating and drinking for happy hour? Where and who are you bringing?
So first of all, a place I really like to go here in Tucson is an Italian restaurant called Perché No. It's downtown. It used to be Cafe Milano, and then the guy was going to sell it. And this other Italian guy thought, well, I was going to retire, but Perché No? Why not? I'll just buy this place instead. But they have they have this lovely polenta gorgonzola appetizer, and they have these dates that are wrapped in bacon, really good.
Yeah.
And then those are very good with a Negroni. So that's where I would go. Oh dear, now I'm getting hungry. This isn't good. I don't know
listen to your accent. I mean, the language.
Bacon.
You've got the language.
Bacon.
Like I feel like all excited
bacon.
now. Oh,
so
bacon.
good. Well, I don't always like gorgonzola, but it's really good on this polenta dish, the way they do it. So it's just so scrumptious. And who I would like to invite is Vicky Carr. She actually, I met her here in Tucson at El Mariachi restaurant years ago after she had done a concert, like a Mariachi Extravaganza concert. She's from El Paso, but she started singing in Spanish, and she's just really, really a fun lady. And one of my favorite songs that she sings is called El Próximo Viernes, next Friday. So you go home and think about it. And if you are still interested in me, you can come around next Friday and I'll see if I want to be with you. So yeah, just strong women. So strong drinks for strong women.
Hey, you know what? I love that. Now you got to think about Arizona and musicians. Women, Linda Ronstadt, Tucson. We got Stevie Nicks here in Phoenix, Scottsdale area, right? Like there's some strong women that are powerhouses in the music world. And I'm just only mentioning a couple. And as you did, DR. But I do love your pronunciations and your language efficiency. My God, you got me all excited. And Nancy, the dates.
Yes.
I know you love the polenta. But the dates, so Arizona, we have in Yuma, Arizona, this is where the Majul date first came into this country before Indio and their dates.
Yummy.
Sorry, not knocking Southern California, but just saying Yuma, Arizona has the Majul dates, and they're grown out also in Bard, California. We share borders, and these dates don't even have to be grown organically, though they do. They have no pests here. It is just like a perfect natural growing environment. So they came over here from Morocco with shootings and offshoots Peggy. It shouldn't be shootings, right? Offshoots. It's the same thing as vineyards.
Alrighty
I really got
then.
the Tucson sisters in crime here. Anything could happen. So anyway, you can go to Yuma, Arizona. Go to the Peanut Patch. Our friend Donna George, talking about women, has the country store over there, and go get medjool dates. And you wrap them in bacon, put a little jalapeno in there, put a little bit of gorgonzola cheese or whatever cheese in there, wrap them, bake them, eat them, drink wine. So this is one of our products of Arizona. Arizona has so much agriculture, and people are always shocked. Peggy, that's got to happen to you. Like, people go, what? We're growing things in a desert? But we do. This is a very agricultural state, right, Peggy? That people should know.
Absolutely. Particularly down in southeastern Arizona, people are surprised with how much produce comes out of, or how much agriculture is in Cochise County, where I am. And of course, the Yuma County is the breadbox, basically, of the U.S. in terms of the lettuce and all the winter vegetables that they grow. It's pretty awesome.
It is. And so the workers go from like Salinas and Tulare County, Central California, down to Yuma and during the winter, and even your area, Phoenix area. And so it kind of goes back and forth between Central California and Southern Arizona. It's pretty interesting. So let's go to Elaine from Peoria. But now in Arizona, and often with an iguana in her hand. Elaine, what are you doing for happy hour? What are you eating, drinking? Who's going with you, and where?
Well, I think I'll go to the Tohono Chul, which is a botanical garden. And they frequently have tequila and mezcal tastings.
Really?
So I'm thinking maybe I'll go there for some tastings, and they often have chocolate and little munchies to go along with it.
I don't remember that happening when we went to Tohono Chul, Nancy. We missed something? Oh.
Of course, you can always go to the bistro and have one of their prickly pear margaritas, which are good, but I really enjoy their tastings.
And can we just give everyone a little overview of Tohono Chul? Because Tucson is the Botanical Garden, Tohono Chul Park, all of those. Weren't they residential gardens that became botanical gardens? So like people just really started growing things.
Well, it was owned by someone, and it's a fairly big piece of natural desert that they did preserve, and they made into this botanical garden. And then they kind of got more and more of the acres around. But they also grow a lot of native plants, and they have plant sales so that you can go and buy versions of the local plants that you can put in your own gardens and yards. And of course, they have the big event each year where the night blooming cereus, which is a plant that only blooms one night per year, and they all bloom together. So they have the big bloom night event each year. And it's they have to guess what night the flowers are going to bloom so they can get the word out and everyone can come watch. It's really amazing.
That is cool. Now, who are you taking?
I'd like to bring along Sandra Day O'Connor. I'd like to know more about her life and what she experienced.
I'm just going to say, I know that you stole someone's lady, but that's okay. I just know you did. But yeah, she's amazing.
Yes. So I'd like to know more about her experiences. And I have a feeling she probably likes tequila too.
Do you think so? So she was she grew up on a ranch, right? I mean, she became political history as a woman and did so many amazing things as a woman. And
the first female Supreme Court justice.
Yeah. That's amazing when you think about it. Yeah. And we've had some women in Arizona that have really, stood up and kicked some butt in regards to, the justice system and politics, as leaders. I mean, even got to look at Gabby Giffords too. I mean, she really stood out and, her shooting was horrible.
Yes.
But her resiliency is incredible, as a woman and a human, amazing. All right. So we're going to go over to Millie Eidson, everyone, Dr. Millicent Eidson. We're going to talk to you about where are you going to go for a happy hour in Arizona? What are you going to eat, drink, and who are you taking?
Sure. Well, growing up in Tucson, our favorite restaurant was called Casa Molina, and it's been there in Tucson for close to 80 years. And so it's a very historic restaurant, and I would have a margarita there. And I'd also have sopapillas. And for those of your listeners who don't know what sopapillas are, they're absolutely heavenly. They're these big pillows of pastry, hollow pastry, very lightweight, and you poke a hole in it one end with your finger, and then you pour honey in it. And it's just heavenly to have margaritas and sopapillas. So, and I would bring Linda Ronstadt because we actually went to the same high school. She was South Point High School. She was graduating as I was starting, so I didn't get to meet her, but other members of her family were also very musical, and they were at South.
Like Susie Ronstadt. She plays with our friend Wally Lauder.
Yeah.
Susie Ronstadt, her sister.
Yeah, the whole family was very, very musical, and so I got to hear the other family members. And one of the things I love about Arizona is it's so rich in various diverse cultures. And of course, the Ronstadt family is German and Mexican, and Linda later in life particularly started focusing on her Mexican heritage in regards to her music, and it'd be really fun to share margaritas and sopapillas with her at Casa Molina.
Just as a footnote, if you don't mind. So I used to work at El Mariachi restaurant. I started playing mariachi there with Gilbert Velez, and he's the one that helped her pick out the songs for Canciones de mi Padre.
Wow.
So anyway, just a funny old connection. No. And when Vicky Carr came and sang for the extravaganza, she sang with Linda Ronstadt. So.
Wow. That's amazing. The history and I mean, Linda Ronstadt changed music for women too. When you think of it, she was one of those who said, I can go out there and can do this. She really was a role model and still is to this day, and like you're saying, her family too. That's awesome. Now I'm going to go to Peggy, who I know loves music. Peggy, I do want to tell you that I think your wine is getting better. The Viognier is settling nicely.
Awesome.
Nancy, are you feeling that feeling too? Are you feeling a nice, warm, happy glow like I am?
I love it. I love it.
I don't know where Nancy went. Oh, Nancy, are you there?
What? I'm right here.
Are you feeling like I am over the wine? Feeling nice and toasty,
because
warm?
I'm totally relaxed, enjoying a conversation. And going to that happy place in my mind.
Yes, there you see, that's what you do with your wine, Peggy. So, Peggy.
Our wine is all about the experience, and we're having a wonderful experience collectively talking about Arizona. So I chose a place for happy hour that showcases wine, of course. If I wasn't going to my tasting room with my special guest, I chose the Wrigley Mansion in the Phoenix area. I love sitting out at Christopher's at the Wrigley Mansion because it has that 360-degree views of the valley. And I love historical architecture. And of course, the Wrigley Mansion was a gift to his wife from William Wrigley in 1931. And for their 50th anniversary, he built that mansion, which was later purchased by the Harmel family, Jamie and Geordie Harmel, I think in early 1990s, 92 or something like that. So it's just a beautiful place to enjoy a wonderful glass of wine or a sparkling wine. And they have an incredible tasting menu of little bites that I would just kind of nibble my way through the menu with a couple glasses of wine. And I would bring along my good friend and former Governor Rose Mofford, who has passed, but she was just a dynamite woman, but an incredible governor. And the best storyteller and joke teller you would ever meet. And they were not always, they can get really raunchy kind of jokes that she would tell. And you would just be in stitches. And the other thing I loved about Governor Moffett was that, of course, her hair, her hair, it was an incredible hairdo. It was piled high on her head, at least a foot, I think. And I think one time the Arizona Republic said about her, she has a heart as big as her hairdo. Because it was legendary. But she...
Oh, wow. I'm looking at it now. You go, girl.
It was incredible. And the beehive just went high. And you can hide all the state's secrets were tucked into that beehive. But she was just a character. We'd laugh probably for hours. And I would just sit there and listen to her tell stories about where all of the dirty little secrets are hidden. Because she was in state government. I think she started like an assistant secretary of state somewhere in the early 50s, 1950s. And she held that for 20 some years before she became governor. I guess her first full term might have been, I think, in 78 or something like that. I think she was elected Secretary of State in the 70s and then became governor in 88 or late 80s when we had impeached Governor Evan Mecham. But we had fun drinking wine and telling stories about old Arizona and the politics during her term, which would be a lot of fun.
That is fun. Like I, as soon as I looked at her face, I remember who she was. Like I wasn't here at that time, but like, oh yeah, I know who she is. Like she's made a mark in Arizona history for sure. Nancy and I will talk a bit about women we want to bring in, but I want to go to Eva because Eva, put the margarita down. Like who are you bringing to happy hour? I know you got your woman now.
This person I know from is an author, and she teaches at University in Chicago. She writes cookbooks, and she does a lot of crafting. Her name's Marianne Mohenraj. She is like this little dynamo. She does so many things and is so interested in everything. And I know she's been to Santa Fe, and I'd love to bring her to Tucson and immerse her a little bit in the food and the culture and the wine of Arizona. I think she would really like that.
That's cool. When we first turned the show into being a double dipper of happy hour and our Women Making History podcast, the first thing I thought was like, with the Tucson Sisters in Crime and authors coming on the show, I was like, Barbara Kingsolver needs to come here, but she left. So that's it. I don't know. Millie, come on. Where didn't she go up near you or where did she go?
She's in the Appalachian region.
Oh, okay. I get it then.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
I understand.
But yeah, she was a fabulous writer about Southern Arizona when she was living there. I mean, her stories about particularly motherhood and the fear that you get when you're a mother, they're so powerful.
My first book was Poisonwood Bible, and that came from a friend of ours who had a farm, and of course we lived in Africa, and so started reading this. I'm like, no one gets it like she does. Like she gets the people.
You should read her earlier ones that are set in Arizona. They're fabulous.
I haven't read anything else other than that, and in fact, her book is still in the storage unit, I think, because there's certain things we never give up, and that's one of her books. But Nancy, I wanted to say to you, you and I, restaurants, we haven't been living in Arizona. We've been all over the place. But there's some places, downtown Tucson has a Hotel Congress, one of the best Bloody Marys you can get in downtown Tucson.
Yeah, for sure.
You want a good meal, good Bloody Mary. Eva, you've taken us to some wonderful Mexican restaurants. Casa Grande, I don't know if Eva's is still there. Eva's did amazing Mexican food.
I don't think we've had a bad meal in Arizona.
I don't know. But when we used to live down in Green Valley, we didn't have the Green Valley Grin though.
Yeah, we did.
Some of you will know what I'm talking about.
Yes, you did.
But anyway,
Yeah,
we used to, before we moved here, we'd go out and stay in Amado. And it's part of what we fell in love with this area was the mesquite trees, and it's very much like Africa to us. And we'd go to the Longhorn Saloon, where you walk through a big cow skull, basically a bull skull or whatever, and go in there. And it's not really about the food, it's just the funny attraction kind of thing. But we would do that after we went hiking in Buenos Aires National Wildlife Refuge, which is one of our special places on earth. Truly. This wildlife refuge spans 4 different scenes. So like Madeira Canyon is up in the mountains, and you get those beautiful broad-tailed hummingbirds. And so it has a little bit of that, but on the western side. And then it's got the actual prairie grass, the short prairie grass. Elaine's going to fix me soon on this, on concept. She knows, but it's the pronghorn have come back. The bobwhite quail are coming back through this wildlife refuge. They also have the Cienega area. So there's all these different landscapes, and we'd go hiking there, often with champagne, and take our picnics. We go with our friend Rondi Sway. Rondi, Nancy, and I she couldn't believe it. We'd go, all right, we've done our hike. We're going to have some picnic, and she'd do the sandwiches, and we'd put out bottles of wine or champagne. And she was like, no kidding. And then one day her friend went with us, and her friend's like, they don't really bring champagne and drink that at 8 a.m. And then she did. She had sandwiches and champagne, and she went, oh my God, this is so fantastic. Because the hummingbirds circled, the butterflies come around, the sun's coming up. And so this is our Arizona kind of lifestyle. So I'm going to go to Nancy, other than the restaurants. I mean, there's just so many we've been to over the years, and I don't want to promote anything that's maybe not still there, but if we could go to that picnic table, and we've done numerous parks this way in Arizona, who would you bring?
Oh, I think I would bring Nellie Bly, because she's one of my heroes as a journalist, as a female journalist who, back in her day, the late 1800s, early 1900s, was incredibly difficult for women, and she stood out by what she wrote. And it couldn't be easy at all. So I admire her courage, her perseverance, and her honesty in what she was saying. Because back then, women were supposed to write about social parties and get-togethers with rich friends. And she's like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm going to talk about poverty and corruption in the government, politics, and mental health and other subjects. So she put herself out there big time.
I wonder if she came to Arizona ever. I know you were talking about Irma Bombeck. I didn't know Irma Bombeck was born here.
Oh, it's a comedian that was born here. And she's really funny. But when I look at who's serious, and not that comedians aren't serious, they try to make us look at the world in a more accepting way on serious subjects. That's their job. So I admire that. But I just think what Nellie Bly did for women was incredible. And she's born in Arizona, so that's where I went.
No, she's not born. Nellie Bly was not born in Arizona, just to be really clear, everyone. That's why I'm asking.
In Arizona for a long time.
Yeah, Nellie Bly was born, Elizabeth Jane Cochran was born in Burrell Township, Pennsylvania. So just to be clear on that.
And she
that's why I
went
was asking.
undercover into
all
an
over.
insane asylum.
Mm-hmm. She did.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, dude, come on.
No, she's great. So I'm just saying, yeah, with her coming, I would love to see what she's done in Arizona if she did come here, and it would be cool to have her here. Either way, I mean, heck, she's awesome. Women journalists back in the day, you weren't supposed to be anything but a nurse or a teacher.
Yeah.
You know? And she did a ton. I totally agree with you. I would like to bring Marion DeGrazia on our little picnic. Marion DeGrazia was married to Ted DeGrazia, but she was an artist in her own right. She was born in upstate New York. She if you go to DeGrazia Gallery in the Sun in Tucson, yes, we have a podcast every month with them, and we've been going there every time we can. We go. I mean, we've been going there for years, and it was part of even why we moved here, because you go to this gallery and it's the ultimate of creative freedom and about an independent spirit, which would be Ted DeGrazia. But his wife was equally that way, and a badass. Like, she will say, like, no, yes, no, you know. Her art is beautiful. They have a whole section of the gallery dedicated to her. She's cremated, and her ashes are placed out in the tree there in the graveyard. She did sculpture, jewelry, paper mache, paintings. Her work, and she, lived longer than Ted DeGrazia and kept that gallery going. And our friend Lance, who's the executive director there, he, used to do his every morning go there, and she still lived on the property. They have their old house there on the property, which I encourage everyone to go. And there's a feminine spirit, big feminine spirit on this property, especially the Virgin Guadalupe. And she would do the crossword puzzles with Lance and yell at him if he got them wrong or whatever. And, this woman, you see her art and how she was there alongside Ted DeGrazia, but also made sure things happen. Behind every great man is a great woman, and that is really true. And her art, it's his gallery, but they give her space and acknowledge her and recognize her and celebrate her as well. And I encourage people to go see her art. If you go to DeGrazia Gallery in the Sun, go check out her side of the gallery. She is amazing and vibrant. And, so I would like to sit down and meet her and just talk about her art and her life and moving to Tucson from New York. So, yeah. All right. So, anybody have any comments about any of the women that we've talked about or anything? Before we move on to the round speed question of other things to do in Arizona. No, we're all good. Okay. We're going to talk about if you could take a 1 week vacation in Arizona, where would you go? So this is what we are planning. So let's start about history or cultural connections. If we're going to say to, plan this vacation, where are we going to go to get some history or cultural connections? So let's start with you, Peggy. Where would you say to go for that experience?
Gosh, that was hard for me to be thinking about. Of course, I'd want you to come to southeastern Arizona because of the rich history, both of Native American history as well as just Western history. With the Cochise Stronghold. And the Ameren Museum, which is absolutely incredible, a must-see, which is, about an hour and a half from Tucson. And it just has incredible artifacts that have been found from all over the world. Then you have the Pierce Historic Ghost Town. That is incredible. And of course, LDV Winery, you'd have to come and visit. But then I was thinking, in my past life of working with communities all over the Southwest, and I worked with so many Native American communities. You've got to really visit Navajo and Hopi Nation and immerse yourself in, the history of those of that culture. I mean, visiting the Hopi Mesas and going to the Hopi Cultural Center located on Second Mesa. It's absolutely incredible to think that this community has been inhabited now for, I can't recall, 1,000 years or whatever, but 2,000-year-old continuously habited area. And just to understand the indigenous people, I think is very, very important. Part of what Arizona is all about, but this country is all about. And the Navajo and the Hopi Nation are an important part of that. So that's where I would go. And you can definitely spend a long time exploring that area.
I agree. And one of the best museums, too, to grasp is Tucson has the Arizona State History Museum, which really has the most incredible pottery collection in the world of Native American pottery. And we got to go, remember, Nancy, behind the scenes?
Yeah.
We got to go in the
vault. That's awesome.
It was insane to see such historic pottery. But also in Flagstaff, the Museum of Northern Arizona, if I'm not getting all the names 100%, right. I'm just going from memory. And I'm blonde and drinking Viognier right now, so I have an excuse. But actually, my hair's not blonde anymore. It just did whatever. But anyway, Northern Arizona Museum in Flagstaff has this incredible mural of the Hopi way of life. And I can't explain it further other than you must experience it yourself. Right. It is like this whole life cycle, like of what your life is. It's almost very Buddhist. It's incredible. It's incredible. I encourage people to go to that museum and the one in Tucson. Judy, for you, where would you say for history and culture?
One of my favorite places to go is Walnut Canyon up near Flagstaff. It's, you have to go down a bunch of steps, but, you walk kind of around like a rock island, and it's, cliff dwellings from the Sinagua, from like 700 years ago, I believe. And you can actually like walk into the cliff dwellings, and it's just a really neat, it's just beautiful, the scenery, but, being able to actually walk on the path and into the cliff dwellings where these people lived, their lives in Sinagua because they lived without water. So how they were able to, make it work in the desert.
Have you been to Beshwa-Goa?
No.
In Globe, Arizona? It's like they actually built like huts out of rock, and it's an archaeological site. I encourage people to go check that out in Globe, Arizona. I think it's Beshwa-Goa. It's near Tonto National Monument, which is out there too, and you can go to the dwellings there.
Yeah, you have it correct. Beshwa-Goa.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's actually in Globe. It's right in Globe.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Globe, Arizona. Yeah.
It's not that close to Tonto. It's close. It's right in Globe.
Yeah, Tonto is like more down the road.
North.
And then by Roosevelt Dam, right? I think I'm going off the top of my head here. Okay. Yeah, and then you can also go on that Apache Trail scenic drive and clutch your steering wheel when you do that. But Judy, I think you're right. I mean, the cliff dwellings just really kind of take you back, right? And get you to understand how people lived back in the day. Eva, what about you for history and culture?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to pick Tucson and our area around here. We have a lot of history here. It's been populated since, the 1500s in this area. And then, as the Presidio grew and Tucson grew, there's a lot of history right here. And if you want to take a little drive, we have Tombstone and we have Bisbee. Bisbee was one of the biggest towns on the west of the Mississippi for a while. I think it was also the capital of the state for a short time.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, this is off the top of my head. So there's a lot of history right here, and we have the Gadsden Purchase, which is down in Douglas. There's a lot of history right through here. And if it was for me, I want to do the I-40 corridor from state to state for myself, just because I haven't spent much time up here. But for other people, I'd recommend coming here.
The I-40 corridor takes in Route 66 too.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have historic I-80 that goes from California all the way to Georgia. It's one of the most historic highways. That's completely forgotten about, honestly, and not documented. And that's a whole other podcast. I want to go over to DR. Ransdell, what about you for history and culture? I mean, God, I think even the mariachi music that you do is part of that.
It is part of that. It's really fun. And, like it depends on who you ask. But according to Gilbert, this Tucson was a place where mariachi really took roots in terms of the U.S. It had existed in Mexico, but in the U.S., it kind of started from here and went onward. So yeah, so the mariachi is a big part of it. And now it's taught in schools and stuff, which it wasn't in the day. All my training was on the job training and on that stage at El Mariachi restaurant. So that was really fun. But now the way restaurants are, they don't want to pay you enough. They want a commitment, but they don't want to pay you enough. So what we wind up doing is we're like doctors, we pay house visits, which is bad because then I have to drive all over, town to find these, little out of the way places. But anyway, but for our people who are trying to travel, I'll tell you what, the Chiricahuas are really terrific. So it's this, geographical thing, in the way southeast corner of the state. So it's a national monument, part of the national park system. But the Chiricahuas are really cool. It's sort of like Bryce Canyon. It looks a little bit like Bryce Canyon, but it's pretty quiet because not a lot of people know about it. So not a lot of people go there. But what they have are they're called hoodoos, which are rocks that are caused by erosion. They're also called like fairy chimneys because they look so strange, going up from the earth. So they have those, and then they have balancing rocks. So that's just a real nice area to visit when you're in your car and you have time to explore a lot of the state.
Yeah, it's volcanic. I mean, you're talking about volcanic history, and that's why Peggy's wines are so good. They have volcano juju in there, right, Peggy?
Visit the National Monument, and 15 miles away, you find us. And so after you hike the Chiricahua Mountains, come visit LDV Winery.
And Fort Bowie. I'm going to give a shout out to Fort Bowie because I can't stand this. I can't. It's like, this is one of the most amazing parks where the crossroads of history of the Southwest and the Southeast happen. So you've got the Butterfield Stage Route. The Apache Wars happen at the same crossroads of the Butterfield Stage Route. And Geronimo got captured there, which is sad. Yeah. And his grandson is buried there. You can go there. If you could take this 1.5 or 1.25 mile walk to the visitor center from the road, and go to the fort, and there's, of course, fort history, but also the California Column came in, and that is also where the Bascom Affair happened. And this actually, the California Column coming in is actually what helped stop the Civil War. Crazy.
Actually,
how in Arizona happened.
If you want to know about history in the West, you've got to look at Tombstone. You really do. You really do, because it was the crux of what went down when it went down.
Amazing. Tombstone has got the OK Corral in the movie, right? So it's got a little touristy, I'm just going to say, just a tad. But they also have the largest blooming rose tree, the Lady Banksia, that is 9,000 feet wide. No joke.
Yeah.
So go check that out. In April, she blooms, and they have a Rose Festival out there. But I want to go over, Elaine, what about you for history and culture for Arizona?
Well, unfortunately, Peggy and DR took my Chiricahua Mountain. But I would like to also embrace doing things on horseback. So taking some of those mountain trails on horseback, like the early pioneers and the Native Americans did, and do some of the exploring more in depth than you can do by just hiking. And then they also have those trail rides, those multi-day trail rides, where you can go across the country that you don't see when you're driving by in a car, and you just physically can't do by foot.
And the Dragon Mountains, they do a lot out there too.
Exactly.
Southeast and we talk about Chiricahua Mountains, Faraway Ranch, which is part of the historical park, the monument, was actually, you can go to this old ranch, and it was actually the very first guest ranch in the West, and run by women, and they were on horseback with horses.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yes.
And there are just some incredible ranches in Arizona that you can stay at. Like close to Tucson is the White Stallion Ranch, and you can go and take a multi-day horse riding, do a lot of horse riding at that ranch. But down in southeastern Arizona, there's some incredible dude ranches that you can really get that old Arizona experience and explore via horses.
And you can go Wickenburg too. Nancy and I did
a
dude ranch out there, and then we had a spa thing, and they told us not to drink wine. We have too many toxins coming out of our body to drink wine, and we went, screw you.
Rancho de los Caballeros, I think is what it's called in Wickenburg.
And we had a good time, and we did like a labyrinth. And a lot of people come to Arizona to clear energy and recenter oneself spiritually. It's also a spiritual place. I want to go to Millie. I was going to say Dr. Millie. I am going to call you Dr. Millie now. For you, what would you say would be a good place for history? Because I'm going to think that you may even get into some natural history, or you want to go human history.
Well, I tend to think of things that are fun to do as a family because, I was a kid growing up in Arizona, and we used to love to go to the ghost towns, and our favorite one was Jerome. So that's an activity that I would definitely recommend to give people an idea of some of Arizona's
By the way,
history.
there's Nellie Bly's shop in Jerome, just so Nancy can feel happy about Nellie Bly. Yeah. It was in Jerome. So called Nellie Bly Kaleidoscope. And anyway, go ahead. Sorry about Jerome. But yes, it's a trippy place.
And I was just looking up, reminding myself of it this afternoon, and I noticed they have looks like a wonderful old hotel there called the Jerome Grand Hotel, which looks fascinating.
Very historic. That's a historical.
Isn't the mining towns, one of the haunted hotels?
Yes.
I love haunted stuff. I love it.
That is haunted. From what I know, Jerome is haunted like Tombstone. We did the ghost tour in Tombstone on Halloween way back when in 2009 while we were evacuated from a wildfire. We ended up there, and we were stuck in Big Nose Kate's Saloon on Halloween with the bartender dressed in drag like Frankenfurter, and they found us a place to live because we thought our house had burned down. And we almost ended up living next to Boot Hill Cemetery, which we would have happily done. But it's amazing, these towns. All right. So let's close off with one thing, because I know we've gone over time. There's all kinds of fun things. There's the arts, there's events, festivals, where to stay. I'm going to say lodging wise, you can go from dude ranches to hotels to Airbnbs in the middle of the desert to our pods, right? Eva, camping is good in the desert.
Yes, in the winter, not the summer.
Well, wait, Peggy, don't you do Harvest Hosts? Don't you have a camping thing at certain times of the year?
Oh yeah, year round. People don't realize when you go south in Arizona, you go up in altitude. So we're at 5,000 foot elevation. So summers are bearable where we are. We don't get above 100.
Okay, so you have a Harvest Host. So people that are self-contained RVers can come to stay at the winery, right?
Correct. Yep.
Wow. That's cool. we've stayed at the winery. It's cool. You should do it. I'm just going to say, do it. All right. So one extra thing to add to the bag. One or two, it's fine. Let's go to you, Millie. One or two extra things that you say people should put on their list. Come to Arizona.
Well, we've been mentioning the Chiricahuas, and my favorite thing to do in the Chiricahuas is to camp at Cave Creek, which is near Portal, and do that in late April or early May so that you can see the elegant trogon birds, which migrate back north into only that part of Arizona from Mexico in that springtime. And they're fabulous, big, huge birds. And the sound that they make is like a dog barking. So when you're hiking through the canyon, the way you spot them is you listen for a dog barking from up in the trees, and then your eyes follow the sound, and then you can spot these gorgeous, gorgeous birds. So that, for me, that's a really special place.
And they're very multicolored.
Yes.
They're so multicolored.
They remind me of turacos that we used to get in Kenya. Turaco birds, for some weird reason, but that's where we saw our first one was there. You can see them in Madeira Canyon. And then in Buenos Aires National Wildlife Refuge, which is by Arivaca in South Arizona, we heard these birds and it sounded like a dog crying. And I almost went into the cienega to rescue a dog, and we found out they were rail birds and making a certain sound. And literally I almost went into a swamp, but it's not a swamp in Arizona. But these bird sounds can trick you, like what you're saying, Dr. Millie. Now, Elaine, for you, what do you want to add to the travel list here?
By all means, go up on the Mogollon Rim, the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest area, the White Mountains Apache Reservation, and of course the Salt River Canyon, a gorgeous area. Oh, with the bonus that you get the wild horses too.
I was going to say you could see the wild horses out there if they keep them.
I love that.
That is awesome. That's very awesome. DR, what about you?
If you're hot and you're stuck in town, a beautiful thing to do in Tucson is to go to the Mini Time Machine. It's this museum of miniatures, and it sounds really silly. Who wants to go see, 500 little old dollhouses or whatever? They are fabulous. They're exciting. It's so interesting. I went there with my sister. We were taking her kids, we'll be there for an hour, The kids are like, whatever. And we were just fascinated by all the work that goes into these little bitty houses. And it's fascinating. So Mini Time Machine here in Tucson, weird, but really fun.
I remember seeing it advertised somewhere and wanting to go. And then we went on the road and we never did get there. So I'm with you. I want to go.
Put on the list.
Yep.
Yeah, on the list.
Yeah, on
absolutely.
The list.
Judy, what about you?
I would mention a couple of festivals that are my favorite. If you're here towards the end of February, we have Matsuri, which is one of the largest Japanese festivals in the country. Really? And I play taiko, which is a Japanese style drumming, and we have taiko all day for 2 days. Plus there's Japanese dance and music and so much food and shops. So it's really fun. It's at Indian Steel Park. I think it's Steel Indian Park. It's in right in the middle of Phoenix. So that's great. And then my other favorite festival is the Noches de las Luminarias, I think is how you say it, at the Desert Botanical Garden.
Nice.
It's going on right now, over the holidays. I think they start like Thanksgiving goes through the end of December. They have, the luminarias all along the paths, and then they have musicians in various spots throughout the park. So you can get like a spiked hot chocolate and go from listening to the different musicians. And, it's usually very nice out as well. So it's like one of these holiday events that you can hang out for 3 hours and you don't get cold.
Oh, that is awesome. When you talk about the events, like I think the Dia de los Muertos event, and Eva can fix me on this, in Tucson has to be one of the most epic festivals I've been to in my life. It's like a giant parade through downtown Tucson, and then of celebrating those who have passed and their legacy, and then we burn them at the end in this big pyre. It's like crazy, and dancing and music and fun, and it is Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead Festival in Tucson?
Yeah, and it happens the weekend after Halloween.
It's amazing.
Dia de los Muertos. DR could probably pronounce that better than me.
Yeah. DR, you want to say it for us? Come on, you got the good accent. Do it. Can you do it?
They call it Dia de los Muertos, but that's not really what it is. It's called the All Souls Parade. El Dia de los Muertos is actually like the 2nd of November all over Mexico, and that's when it's usually celebrated here too. But yeah, so this crazy, very cool parade is it's so organic, and it started with people who, like Eva said, we're trying to, just honor some of the people that had passed. This year they did it a little differently because they did do it real close to Halloween. I think they wanted to squeak it in before the election. So the timing was just a little bit different. Yeah, I was there this year. It was really fun. But then you know what happened? It doesn't happen that often, but it rained. It just poured that Sunday. Yeah. And so like the parade, we were out there, but the parade was really short because most people didn't come. And then we were out there trying to watch the end of it, and it started pouring again. So everybody just went into the nearest little pop-up shops or something like that. So it was a little unusual. But anyway, the All Souls Parade, it's really very cool, and you should all come.
And by the way, that area of Tucson to shop is heaven. Eva, for you, what would you add on to this, magical road trip of Arizona?
I would probably do something like try to do if you can hike, do Kings Canyon hiking in the Tucson mountains. If it's summer, I would go up to Mount Lemmon and hike around Mount Lemmon. There's some pretty incredible trails up there if you're hikeable. If you're not, we have great museums in the summer. Yeah,
I agree. And museums are cool.
I like the Phoenix suggestions. Oh, and of course we have Festival of Books in March.
I was waiting for one of you to bring that up. Yes, Festival of Books, everyone. That's a big deal for Tucson, just like the Gem Show, right? That's huge.
Yes.
Yeah, very big. And Peggy, for you up in Scottsdale area, you have a lot of big events for people.
Oh gosh, you can stay busy every day of the week when you come from, particularly in the wintertime, there's so much to do. But I wanted to mention that people are surprised that Arizona is really known for their night skies. And we have some incredible observatories in Arizona, and we have Flagstaff and Fountain Hills and other communities being designated dark sky communities because they're protecting that. And if you come down to like the Vineyard in southeastern Arizona in the wintertime with your telescope, and there's several private places for public places where you can put your telescope, and the skies are just absolutely phenomenal in Arizona. And I think that's, when I think of Arizona, I think of the word unexpected, and that I think people are surprised by our dark skies and how unexpected the visual is of the stars.
See, she did the closing comment, the last word for Arizona, unexpected. Peggy, what do you see for 2025 at LDV Winery?
Hopefully selling lots of wine, and but we have some new wines coming out. I'm hoping to introduce a lot more people to Arizona wines because I think people are surprised by the quality of wines we're producing in Arizona, and we have a fast-growing wine industry in Arizona. So turning people onto that and getting the word out is what it's all about.
Everyone, ldvwinery.com. I want to go over to Judy. Judy, your word, and where's your next destination? And she's pet sitting with trusted house sitters like we do. Now, I love that you are doing that. You're a vet. Like it's the perfect fit, and you travel. Like
yeah, it's nice to be able to hang out with, a cat or a dog while you're traveling.
Isn't it? It really is. I mean, it is.
We miss it.
I mean, it has changed our lives. And so I hope it is as, change, like it is that good for you.
It's wonderful. Yeah. I really like
it. It is. I mean, it is. But
my
your
big
word
trip for 2025 is a friend of mine and I are doing a veterinary program safari type thing in South Africa.
What?
We get to actually hands-on help with the conservation work that they do.
Oh, cool. I love that.
That'll be in late August.
I love it.
Okay, we need to talk. We need to talk about that.
Love that.
We need to talk before you go to our homeland. Yeah. We need to talk. What is your word for Arizona?
My word is desert. I had no idea how much I would love the desert when I moved here. It's I think it's a beautiful place and I love hiking in it, being in it, desert bathing in it.
Yeah, she likes her nature. She does her forest therapy in the desert. I love that.
Yep.
Forest bathing. DR, for you, what's coming up for 2025? Any new books?
Yes, I've been working on a book actually that takes place in Orvieto, which is where I've taught several times in Italy. I'm also working on something called the Cezanne Chihuahua, which is going to take place in southern France, kind of a traditional mystery. But I'm on sabbatical starting as soon as I get my grades in. And so I've got an extensive travel plan for the spring. I get to go to Costa Rica. I'm going to spend a month doing Carnival in Venice and a couple other places in Europe. But really the big kicker is that I can't go up to that Phoenix Festival. I'm going to spend 5 weeks in Japan in the spring to chase the cherry blossoms. So that's my plan. And I'm sticking to it.
Dang, girl.
Go, girl.
What's your word for Arizona?
Hummingbird. When I first came here, I went to, of course, to the Desert Museum. I fell in love with the cool hummingbirds, which flip their wings, I don't know how many 1,000 times a second, and they weigh about a penny. And also, I love that word because in Spanish, it's chuparrosa, which means, flower, a rose sucker. There's a couple of different ways to say it. And it's a song that we sing that's a really fast song. And so it really encapsulates everything that I love about being here.
Oh my gosh, I love your life. It's awesome. Elaine, let's go to you. And everyone's links, by the way, are in the episode notes, everybody's website links. So it's all there. Elaine, for you, what are you looking forward to in 2025?
More books, possibly a book tour in Guam.
No way.
My book was set. So fingers crossed that becomes a reality. So just the usual festivals, writing books, riding my horse.
So usual. She sits with her iguanas. Okay. But like, this is going to be epic about Guam, right? Going and movie and all this. This is epic.
I'm very excited.
We are for you too. What is your word for Arizona?
That's a tough one.
We want you to say lizards.
Okay, lizards, reptiles, fabulous reptiles.
Slitheries. Okay.
Alrighty.
Well, you got amazing lizards and geckos here, as you taught me.
And the fabulous snakes. I mean, we have 13 species of rattlesnakes. What more could you want?
Everyone, come on down.
Come on down.
I love it.
Arizona
I love it.
now.
Let's go to Dr. Millie because she might tell us that we're going to also wear a mask again or something. I don't know. But everyone, Dr. Melissa Eidson, everyone's links are in the show notes. But what are you looking forward to in 2025?
Yeah, I'm going to be on finishing up my 5th novel. So my novels are named alphabetically after the disease that you can get in these medical thrillers. And so I'll be finishing up my Ebola book. So
I can hardly wait.
Yeah. So and the one thing the word that I wanted to mention is powwow, because one of my favorite things to do in Arizona is to see and participate when able in the Native American festivals. Now, some of them, of course, are private, but for those that are public, it's just so enriching to be able to participate in these powwows and hear the drumming and see the dancing. And my first book, Anthracis, which was about anthrax, featured investigating an anthrax outbreak related to the drums. So it's rare, but it can the anthrax spores can be in the hides of the drums. So I've gone from anthrax at a powwow to now writing about Ebola virus.
You rock my world. Seriously. I love it. I love it. I want to go to Eva. What is your word and what's happening in 2025? Because I know you are moving forward big time on your publishing work.
Well,
or was I not allowed to say that?
Well, no, I think 2025 is I'm going to concentrate more on that as opposed to flitting all over the country. So get my business up and actually functioning. And then my word would be mountains, because we have mountains all over Arizona, and I'm in love with them.
Agreed. And everyone, Eva helps writers, right? So tell everybody what you do in regards to helping people that are in the writing world.
Editing, developmental, and other. I'm learning how to format using Vellum, and getting new writers to, getting new writers to a point where they can either self-publish or else go stop shopping for an agent, or experienced writers if they need a boost and help them with their author profile so they're more visible. So it's a combination of a lot of little things.
Yeah, it's a lot of little things. So everyone's links again are in the episode notes. Nancy, what's your word for Arizona?
I chose the word expansive because when you travel the state, what you see on one side is not going to be what you see on the other side. So it encompasses so much. It's variety and it's different. So expansive. That's my word.
Well, you kind of stole mine because I had sky.
Oh,
for
sorry.
the same reason. No, it's okay. So I'm going to go with flicker because of the flicker bird. Just birds. You know, when you travel like we do and have lived in the desert, even including Joshua Tree area and then, Tucson area, we share a few species and the desert life and the birds, doves, and not seeing doves sometimes like what you do now, and everybody's like, oh, the doves, oh, the pigeons, all that. I saw a brownie pigeon today and walking the dogs, and I got so excited because I haven't seen one for years since we lived in Joshua Tree area. But it's the desert birds, the morning wake up calls, the doves, the flickers, the quail, the sound of the birds. So I don't know, bird song would be my word, I suppose, now. Because you stole my expansive
bird song. That's a good one. I like it.
Bird song is that.
Yeah.
And because they tell you when the sun is coming, even though the sun will blind you, we love the sun, but the bird song is everything, man, in the desert. Because when people think deserts are dead, they're wrong.
No, they're not.
When they're taken care of, these deserts thrive, and all kinds of species thrive within them. Small, miniature, teeny weeny, big saguaros, big, plants like that do. Cottonwood trees and things that people don't expect. And we have that in Arizona.
When the birds sing, they're saying a flower bloomed.
Yes. Or, hey, there's an insect. Let's go get it, boys. Yeah. There's so much to this state. We have snow. We have skiing up in Flagstaff. We have saguaro cactus, the gumbies. Yes, we have pure deserts, but we also have waterfalls. We have wine. We have breweries. We have distilleries. We have the gastronomy capital of the world in Tucson. We have sports. We have golf. We have so much here in Arizona, and we certainly have a bunch of strong women. So watch out, boys. All right. So everyone, just kidding. Thank you so much for joining us here on the special show today. And I know we went over time, so I even appreciate you more for sticking around. Thank you, Eva, Peggy, Judy, DR, Elaine, and Millie for joining us. And thank you, audience. Come to Arizona. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio. Keep up with our shows at bigblendradio.com.